Hey there, this is Nina Perez, and this is Straight Talk, no sugar added. Thank you so much for being here. This show is created to discuss life topics to grow, challenge, and transform your thinking. And you know that I try to go around all the way around the world and try to find the best people on the planet. And I got one for you. Her name is Dr. Ruth Allan, and she is an executive coach, a motivational speaker, a trainer, certified brain health professional, and high performance coach. And she is really passionate about helping individuals reconnect with their best self and win back their energy and time doing what they love with those they love by unchaining, unlocking, and unleashing their full potential. And Dr. Ruth, I really love what you're doing too, because you have a podcast out now too, right? And it's been so great watching you interact with your guests. So I'm grateful that you're here. How are you?
Oh, I'm great, Nina. Thank you so much for having me on your show. It's it's such a pleasure to be on your show and to really help people do exactly what you've kindly introduced me as, is to really help people unchain their pain and
Yeah.
rediscover their best self. So
And that's so great. I mean, I think that's something that's happening right now is that people don't even know who their self is, right? I
mm,
I said a couple of weeks ago that we are inundated with information, but we're starving for wisdom, and that's it just seems that everybody has. At least the people I've spoken to have a lot of info. They just don't even know what to do about it or unchain it or release themselves. They don't, it's a lot, right? So
yeah.
before we get into that amazing topic, because I know we're going to get into it, tell us a little bit more about you.
So my background I have a PhD in medical imaging, and I started life in very sort of normal ways, really. And I went through a period of time that was quite difficult through my childhood and teen years. And I kind of went into myself to escape that. And I went into education to really help myself get through those difficult times. And I ended up becoming very academic as a consequence. And I went through a degree and a MSc and then subsequently a PhD because I didn't have a clue what on earth I wanted to do with my life.
Mm.
And I ended up in the on my journey, I ended up in the corporate world, and I'd already been running my own business, and it was really nice and successful. And when I went and joined the corporate world, I just wanted to find out what it was like being part of basically being an employee. And it
Mhm.
wasn't all that it was stacked up to me.
Very
I'm
true.
definitely not one of those people. But I went into the workplace to look at how I could improve myself personally. I wanted to get the personal development experience from the offerings that the corporation gave me, and also to have the opportunity to have that kind of financial security to start a family. And it couldn't have been further from the truth. So I was lucky enough to fall pregnant, but unfortunately had a miscarriage.
Mm.
And that was shortly before I was told by the firm as part of my performance review that I had no emotional intelligence. And
Wow.
that was a really tough time because I already felt, for me, like a biological failure
Mm-hmm.
for losing a baby. And then straight on top of that was stacked this feeling of being an emotional failure. And throughout that whole year, I'd sacrificed everything, including my own health, to try and get promoted. And I thought I was on the track for promotion. I'd already smashed the figures that they'd set me in terms of performance from a business perspective, but there were
Mm.
hidden performance objectives that I was unaware of, which I apparently didn't meet. And it was an incredibly hard blow to the stomach. And it's sent me very quickly in a fast downward spiral, putting all of my energy into trying to prove myself that I
Right.
did have emotional intelligence, or that I could develop it, as it
Right.
were, and none of the time in focusing on my personal health and well-being. And I ended up having suicidal thoughts, and that was the real trigger point for me to say, right, enough is enough. I need to make radical changes. And the interesting thing about it was all of the support that I thought I needed to go to the firm to get personal development, I actually was able to get myself. I just had to ask for it.
Right,
And I
right.
never really appreciated that it was all within my gift and my power to ask for that support and get that personal development coaching that actually it turned out that the firm were unwilling to pay for. And so I fortunately had previously had my own business, and so I reached into the business pot and was able to go on a hugely transformational journey with initially a business coach who helped me realize that my values that were so core to me were not showing up in the workplace. I wasn't able to fulfill them, and the workplace wasn't able to give them to me. And also that I did have emotional intelligence, got assigned an emotional intelligence coach as part of going on high performance coaching journey as a client, and realized it wasn't me that was the problem. There was a system that was causing the problem. And it's very easy, as I found, to label the person as being the issue and I fought against this. For anybody that I felt like a rat in a corner, caged, I would be fighting against the corporation, is that they didn't seem to want to accept any accountability or responsibility for their part in the process of me getting to this sort of crunch point. And it really fell on me personally to unchain the pain that I was in. And the way I did that was I left. Because I realized that actually it was my environment that I was working in that was hugely toxic to my mental health and well-being. And the only way I was going to change it, despite me trying to change the environment I was working in and make it a better place, make it a safer place. I came from a great company that I was contracting in that was really focused on safety at every level and people's well-being, to a company that really paid what I would say a bit of lip service to it. It was all the talk and no action, or no obvious action at the the ground floor level. And it basically I ended up deciding I can't change the environment, so I'm going to change the environment I'm in, and that's exactly what I did. And I went on an amazing transformational journey from then. Lost 27 pounds in weight, became the fittest I've ever been. And just at that point of becoming the fittest I've ever been, I fell pregnant again. My husband and I were signed up to go ski touring across the Alps. We went ski touring, and when we came back, I said to my husband, I think I might be pregnant. He said, "You're joking, aren't you?" And two pregnancy tests later, it turned out it wasn't me just ski touring with my husband. There was a passenger on board, and 8 months later, our daughter Lily was born. So,
that's great.
Yeah. And so it just goes to show, stuff comes in our life to really challenge us and to throw us off course. And we've got to stay the course that's true to ourselves. So from that journey, I discovered, as part of the transformation that I went through, discovered brain health, and certified as a brain health coach through the Amen clinics. And then a couple of years later, I was able to help my dad realize his dream of writing children's stories. But sadly, he passed away very suddenly 2 weeks before the story was published. And I was there, witnessed his passing, and it was incredibly traumatic. And this was just really at the beginning of COVID, a few months into, he passed before COVID happened, but a couple of months into COVID, I realized I really wasn't coping well with the grief and the loss and the trauma of that particular day. And I'd already been told to a tool up. You know, we all get told once you get to a specific level, you kind of tool up with important things that are going to help
Mm-hmm.
you deliver what you want to deliver for your clients. So I was told about havening, never heard of it, didn't have a clue what it was. And I thought, well, I'm in a real heap of pain. My experience from my corporate experience having positive psychology didn't work out for me. It wasn't the right therapy for me. So I thought, well, I'll go and give this a go. I've got nothing to lose and everything to gain. And I
Mm-hmm.
went to one session of havening, and within one session, I went from a distress rating of 7 to 2. And within a week, I could talk about the experience of losing my dad without having an emotional meltdown.
Wow.
And it was just truly transformational. And I thought, wow, given where we are with COVID, it's right for me to certify in this technique. And
Mm-hmm.
certified, and since then I've been helping people unchain their pain from childhood abuse to domestic abuse, trauma, addictions, bullying in the workplace, phobias, all sorts of things. And it just forms now part of my toolkit to really help people let go of things that don't serve them,
Yeah.
and be able to step into the person that they really want to be, not that the society or culture tells them they
Yeah.
need to be.
And that's a very difficult thing when you don't know that, right? Because a lot of I think now it's a little bit more prevalent, right? Self-help and all that has come to the forefront because mental health has become a big topic
Mm,
discussion. But it was very interesting that your previous employer told you that you had no emotional intelligence, but then didn't give you the tools to gain emotional intelligence, right? So it kind of leaves you in that space, and if you don't even know what emotional intelligence is, right? You're just like, "Oh, I don't even know what this is, and I don't I'm not good at it, and I don't even know what it is," right? Because it's a big thing, and unfortunately, that happens a lot. It happens a
yeah.
lot, and, and because a lot of people judge you by whatever they consider your work performance should be.
Mm,
Um, and like you said, I love that you said that your coach was able to help you realize that your skill sets are what you're really good at. They weren't providing you with that, but you also weren't able to show up in that, right?
yeah.
And many
Yeah.
people don't have a coach or don't evaluate themselves in that area,
Yeah,
you
and
know?
I think it's so important because we can so easily get ourselves stuck on in a rut, or like I like to think of it as like the record gets stuck,
Mm,
and we
mhm,
start playing these thoughts, whatever someone's told us.
mhm.
We play back to ourselves 1,000 times, and
Very
the
true.
wound gets deeper because this is constantly on replay, and we don't take the time to ask somebody, could you just move the needle over? We can
Right,
continue
right,
on our journey
right,
and forget
right.
about, that one thing of the whole song, of life, that one thing, that some word, some sentence that someone said, or something that someone did,
Yeah.
uh, is just a very tiny piece of what we have in front of us, and what we are
Mhm.
capable of doing, and it's so easy to just get stuck,
It really is.
and you need somebody. If you're stuck in that, that record, you need somebody to lift that needle. You need somebody to show you the way, and you need someone to tell you that it's not just about you. It's about the system that
Mhm.
has defined you in your life, because our brains are hugely influenced by our surroundings.
Right.
Our brains, that's how we survive. We adapt. Our brains adapt
Mhm.
and grow and connect in different ways depending on the surroundings we're subjected to. That's part of our survival mechanism. But sometimes that adaptation doesn't serve us
Mhm. Yeah.
going forward, because that's not the environment we're always in,
Mhm.
but it's the environment we think we're always in, because of
So
the way
true.
we've modified our mind,
Yeah.
and it takes somebody who has that knowledge to disconnect the connections that aren't serving us, and make connections to the ones that will serve us going forward, and that's what I love so much about brain health, is because you do have the power to change your mind,
Yeah.
to change your brain and to continue to grow, and you're just not stuck with whatever you think you have in terms of your trouble. Your brain isn't stuck. It's a constantly evolving uh, organ
Mhm.
that's incredibly powerful and capable of adapting to change and adapting to curveballs and
Yeah.
everything else that life throws at us. And I think it's important that we take the time to recognize that and don't pigeonhole ourselves, or label ourselves, or listen to a label someone else has given you, and let
Yeah.
that define us.
Yeah. And that can be hard to do because a lot of times I think you used the word modified, like we modified our brain to keep hearing that over and over
Yeah,
again. And the powerful thing about that word modify is that now you can modify it to not think that too.
right,
Like I love that you use that word. And also sometimes it's true that when you're stuck, you feel like you can't, like, that's it. That's who you are. That's your personality trait, whatever. Well, it became a personality trait. It was a trauma or something that happened. And because you modified your brain that way, now it's become a personality trait,
right.
which you can reverse. Right.
Right. And
Yeah.
personality traits are just bucketing you
Yeah.
into a descriptor of how you are at that time. And we
Right.
know from studies that they've done with havening, scientific studies that have been incredibly controlled, that people with type D personality trait actually no longer have the type D personality, which is associated with depression and anxiety. There's many people in this space
Mm-hmm.
after just a single session of havening, and they
Wow.
no longer had those attributes after one hour session.
That's
So
powerful.
how the fact that we label people with these assessment tools,
Yeah.
and people then think they're stuck with that
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
label, that
Mm-hmm.
personality, it's just nonsense. It's just
Right.
total utter crap. Pardon
Right.
my
Right.
French. It's
No,
just
it's
total
true.
crap. And we've
Right.
got that total capability within our brain. It's totally within our power. And havening is something that we can do to ourselves to change ourselves. This is, something that's within our gift to do,
Mm-hmm.
to modify our mind and to change how we show up, and to not be stuck with whatever label somebody has chosen to give you. If you want to be a different personality, go for it. If you
Right.
want to be outgoing, go and do the things that constitute being outgoing. If you want to be shy and reserved, that's okay. Just be who you want to be, and know that you can change if you're not
Right.
happy with who you are at the
Right.
present moment. But
Right.
you have the power to do that.
Yeah, you sure do. And you have the power to choose what it is that you're going to have serve you. And I love that you use serve you. I use that word as well because I think that we are always being told from little, right? That's bad, that's good, that's bad, that's good. And not everything has to be bad or good. Sometimes things just are. And then you have to discover whether they're serving you or not serving you.
Yeah,
And you're right, Dr. Ruth. I believe that or at least for me, I always say that we all need someone, right? We all need either a coach or a mentor or a leader in that space or something to help you pull up and out of it. Sometimes it's very challenging, if that's the right word I can use, to do it yourself
right.
because you've played the record stuck, to use your analogy, for so long.
Yeah,
And sometimes you don't even see that the needle's stuck. You just are so in it for so long, you just don't even see it anymore, right? It
yeah,
takes somebody from that outside perspective to say,
yeah,
hey, your needle's stuck,
yeah. And
So,
it's so important to ask for help. And I like to see it as an analogy of
yeah.
climbing a mountain. So I just recently interviewed Suzanne Nance, who's coming up on my show. She's the first female explorer to win the Explorers Grand
Oh,
Slam
wow.
in the USA, which is climbing the 7 highest summits across all
Wow.
continents, and reaching the North and South Pole. She didn't do it by herself.
Right.
She didn't go to herself, oh, I'm gonna summit Everest myself, all by myself.
Right.
um no one would think about doing that, climbing Everest. Well,
Right.
some people have, sought to do it as a solo ascent, but they didn't they didn't get to that point of decision by
Right.
themselves. You know, there's a
Right.
whole heap of people that sit behind them. No tennis player, you know, says, I'm going to go and win the Grand Slam by myself. I'm going to do it all by myself without a coach. No, nobody who's
Nobody.
in the
Yeah.
elite space thinks they
Mm-hmm.
can do it alone. But for
Mm-hmm.
some reason, we have this in our mindset, especially when it comes to mental health,
Mm-hmm.
because of the stigma that we've created. You know, even the word mental health is not necessarily a helpful word,
Right.
because people associate mental with something that's wrong.
Yeah.
Um,
That's so true.
yeah,
Yeah.
and so, you know, we think that we have to solve it ourselves. You just don't. You
Right.
don't. You know, and there's
Right.
loads of people out there who want to help you and support
Mm-hmm.
you and take you
Mm-hmm.
on the journey of being there before. You know, people that climb Everest for the first time go with people that have been there before because they know
Right.
the route, they know the way up, you know, they know
Right.
how to get to the
Right.
top. And that's
Yeah.
exactly the same with people, you know, who are struggling with mental health. Let's take that as an example. Whatever it is you're struggling with, if you've
Mm-hmm.
labelled yourself with the mental health struggle, and we like to call it a brain health struggle because everyone's got a brain. So we're
Right.
focusing on the organ rather than the person. So
Mm.
there's no label
Good.
associated with the brain. But if you're struggling, get somebody who has the experience and has been on that journey is even more powerful to help show you the way,
Right.
and help you through it. And you know, we have this capability to ask. We just have to have the courage to
Yeah.
ask, and that's often the biggest stumbling block is
Yeah.
admitting that we need the help in the first place.
Yeah, admitting you need the help and not being ashamed that you need the help because
Right.
I think shame is a big player here because especially if you're someone who has struggled in the past or has struggled with more than one thing, you start to feel ashamed like, "Oh, here I go again," or "I gotta ask
Mm.
again," or "They're gonna get sick of me," or whatever that lie is that comes up, right? So shame, I think, has a big to do, you know?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
And, you know, shame is one of the worst automatic negative thoughts that we can have. So we have these thoughts that play in our mind. Some
Mhm.
thoughts are helpful and some thoughts are really harmful. And when we label ourselves and we feel shame or guilt associated with what we want to do or what we've experienced or what we're telling ourselves, it can
Mhm.
have a really detrimental effect on how we feel, our emotions.
Right.
And those are obviously our emotions drive our behaviors, and
Right.
it can easily make us go into a recluse and not seek to express ourselves
Right.
because we kind of go inward, don't we? Is
Right.
that, you know, I shouldn't, I should be quiet,
Mhm.
and should is another ant, you know, we're berating ourselves. I should do this, I should do that.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and and it's easy to feel shame if, like you say, if we've been shamed by
Yes.
somebody in the past. You know, I
Mhm.
felt a huge amount of shame when I was told I had no emotional intelligence. I mean,
Oh,
it
I
was
bet.
just
Mhm.
horrific thing to say to anybody. And if you understood emotional intelligence, that'd be the last thing you'd actually say to somebody,
Right.
because it's all about awareness of other people.
Right.
Um, but I knew that was not going to define me,
Right. Right.
and I knew I could get help, and it was
That's
just about
powerful.
finding the right
Mhm.
type of help. You know, the first coach I had, he was great, looking at me from a business perspective,
Mhm.
and helping me see that you know, the business didn't seem to want me in the business, and it was, you know, the relationship was incompatible.
Right.
um, and obviously finding the right coach to help me do the transformation and talk about all of me rather than just the business part
Just
of
the
me.
business part. Yeah.
And that's another thing that I think we really forget about is the knock-on impact that something that has really hurt us or something that we're
Mhm.
struggling
Mhm.
with has on all
Mhm.
aspects of our life. You know, if we're struggling with work, as I was, it impacted my relationships, it impacted my health,
Right.
it impacted everything about me. But just dialing in on the business aspect didn't look at all of the other knock-on behaviors I was developing, like drinking in the evening, using drink as my self-medication, using
Right.
cake as my self-medication in the afternoon, having a really rubbishy diet, eating loads of sugar and cakes and puddings,
Mm-hmm.
getting sort of addicted. I was addicted to sugar.
Mm-hmm.
And this is about no sugar added.
Right.
So, I was addicted to sugar, and all of my behaviors that were being triggered already there to a certain degree, but being amplified by the
Amplified. Yeah.
situation I found myself in, ended up hurting myself even more.
Yeah.
You know,
And that
from,
happens. Yeah.
and it's easy for that to happen, and
It
it's just,
is.
mm,
No, I was gonna say it is, and it's and you don't see it either right away, Dr. Ruth. Like you see it like after you're 27 pounds, right? And you
right,
see it after that, and you see it after like when everything's come to this head now. Like you said, you even got into the point where you were having suicidal thoughts, right?
yeah,
Thank goodness that you said, okay, I need to get myself out of this.
yeah,
Right. So you had that, that inner workings in you that at least said to you, okay, this is not it. There
yeah,
has to be more than this. Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And going back to when I first went through this experience, I thought, oh my God, this is like the worst thing that's ever happened to me. But actually, it
Mm-hmm.
was the best thing
Mm-hmm.
that happened to me
Mm-hmm.
because it transformed me.
Mm-hmm.
It was the catalyst of a huge transformational journey that took me to where I really wanted to go, which was back into the medical space, back into really helping people and leveraging my, I mentioned I have a PhD in medical imaging. It is leveraging the expertise that I wasn't able to leverage in the corporate workplace that
Right.
I now can do. I can bring all of me to the
It's amazing.
table.
Yeah.
And I would never have been able to achieve that if I hadn't been through that really dark
Yeah.
point in my life. And I wouldn't have a daughter because the chronic stress of the
Right.
workplace probably would never have allowed me um, to get pregnant.
Right.
And it's all, in the behaviors that I had, adopted as the coping mechanisms for me to deal with the corporate pressures,
Mm-hmm.
would not have served me, in terms of having a healthy pregnancy, and B, in terms of having a healthy relationship, with my daughter and helping my daughter build her
Right.
health,
Yeah.
and future relationships. So, I'm really grateful that,
Yeah.
as weird as it may sound, that they actually said that to me.
Yeah, no, I get
you
that
know?
100% because I am someone who survived a lot of trauma. And
Yeah.
everybody always like, "Oh, would you change anything?" I said, I really wouldn't change. I don't want to go through it again. Let's not get that twisted.
Yeah.
But I am grateful I went through it. I really
Yeah.
am, and
Yeah.
still there's always healing that little areas that
Yeah.
you're like, "Oh, I'm probably not too healed there yet." But,
Yeah.
self-awareness is huge, right? You need to be self-aware and also understand, all of you that are listening, is that there are ways out and there are a lot of people that want to help. Please don't think you're alone
Yeah.
because you are absolutely not alone. And
Yeah.
even if you're, because sometimes what happens is your environment may be toxic, right? So the people that
Yeah.
are around you may be toxic, but they're not
Exactly.
everyone. They're not everyone,
No.
right?
And also, going back to the environment and the people you relate with, it's incumbent on us to build our growth network.
Yes.
We choose the people that we want to
Mhm.
surround ourselves with. And when I
That's
did
right.
the exercise, which I do with my clients, is it's important that we find the people that are going to elevate us to that next level, that are going to help
Yep.
us achieve the growth, those growth friends. We'd say surround yourself with the fittest person you can tolerate, because
Right.
we become the people that we surround ourselves with just by default. That's just the way we've evolved as
Right.
humans.
Right.
And so if you want to make a massive transition in your life, if you want to make a shift to being a senior executive or a CEO of a major corporation, you can't sit where you're at. That's not going to get you there.
That's
You
right.
have to elevate yourself to that position, you have to sit in that role. You have to act like that person. You know, you have to be the person that you want to be
Right.
in order
Right.
to get to that space. And then
That's
there's
right.
another level, you know.
Yep.
You
Yep.
have to visualize
Right.
how you're going to get there, and visualize the journey, and visualize and, you know, immerse yourself in what it's going to feel like,
Yeah.
and what that is for you personally, not, you know, not comparing yourself to others. What a CEO, whatever it is for you, would feel like. Just get yourself really immersed in that whole existence of being that
Yeah.
new
Yeah.
you for you, and you're much more likely to get yourself there.
You are, and you're gonna experience it, and once you experience it, it's gonna feel familiar.
Yeah.
So that's a beautiful thing. So, Dr. Ruth B, you know, before I let you go though, you do a lot of amazing work with people. And so I really want you to let my audience know, you know, what you do and how they can contact you and all of that
Yeah.
because and your show as well, because it is really great. You have great guests on there. You speak about
Oh,
real things and
thank
I really
you.
love watching it. Yeah, it's fun. It's a lot of fun.
Oh, thank you. So there's three key areas, and we spoke about this at the beginning. Thank you for doing that. Is I really help focus on helping people unchain their pain from past
Mhm.
trauma or unhelpful
Great.
experience. And we use the emotional mindset management approach, which combines havening with other brain health coaching techniques to help people
Mhm.
really let go of their past pain, and really step into opening the doors of possibilities to who they want to be. And then the second part is really helping people unlock the secrets to greater mental clarity and performance. So this is really equipping you with the tools and the training to drive your car. The first one is helping you get your car out of the garage and be
Okay.
willing to show it off
Mhm.
without any shame, you know,
Mhm.
without any negative self-talk, without any guilt beating, without any worry about uh, you know, past pain of people saying unhelpful things or doing unhelpful things to you. As I said, the second is equipping you as the driver of your car, so you know how to drive it to where you want it to go.
That's
And then
great.
the third is really um, unleashing your full potential by optimizing your unique brain. And this is the bit that we often forget about: is our brain runs everything. And so this
Right.
is about helping you understand your unique brain, which is your engine of life, and really helping you know that you have a unique brain that it is going to be working too hard potentially in some areas of your brain, and
Mhm.
not working hard enough in others. Too hard is typically caused by past trauma, or you have taken on the trauma of previous generations just by the way that your genes have passed on and have been activated in the present day. And not working hard enough. There's things that we can do there to really help you strengthen those areas and to boost those areas of brain activity. And we do that with specialists as well. So we reach back to specialists in the States who actually image the organ they treat to really help you get the best out of your engine of life, and make sure that that engine is going to serve you for life, and you're
Mhm.
not going to forget about how to maintain it. You're going to put the right fuel in that engine so it
Mhm.
runs properly and doesn't, you know, like my husband put the wrong fuel in our camper van, put petrol in
Uh-oh.
a diesel engine. And you know what happens when
Yeah.
you know it doesn't work properly. It's jumping about all over the
Oh,
place.
man.
And then the same thing's really important for our brains. Our
It's so
brains need to
true.
be fed with the
Yeah.
right fuel, and that comes from what you put in your mouth and what you inhale, and also fed in terms of what you surround yourself with, and the learning that people you surround yourself with, and the learning that you do. And you know, there's a whole heap of things there, and that also comes into not only helping people with who may have put themselves on the mental health spectrum wherever they feel they lie, but also helping people protect their brain for the future. If you who have history of Alzheimer's disease or dementia in
Mm.
your family,
Mhm.
or head trauma, you know, it covers the whole gambit of
That's
brain
amazing.
function.
Mhm.
And that's why I love it. It's just
Yeah.
fascinating. So if
Yeah.
anybody needs any help on anything, including children, so we have courses for kids as well.
That's
And my
amazing.
daughter Lily does. There's a course for to teach your child how to haven, and yourself as well, then please just reach out to ruthmaryallan.com, and you'll hopefully find all of the links there, or myself, Ruth Mary Allan, on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, wherever.
That's amazing. That is so good. I could talk to you all day because I love the brain stuff. So it's really fun. And you're so great at explaining all of that. So thank you so much for
Oh, you're
being on
welcome.
Straight Talk, because I love talking about these kind of things, and showing people that there's ways to get unstuck. There's ways to get out. And you don't have to
Yeah.
be your trauma. You don't have to be the past. You don't have to be any of that. So I appreciate you. I
Oh, thank
appreciate
you,
you.
Neena. Thank you so much for having me on your show. It's been a real pleasure.
Oh, it's great. Thank you. And guys, thank you guys so much for listening and watching. Make sure that you click like, subscribe, share, and also follow Dr. Ruth. I'm going to make sure that I link all of her information below so you don't miss anything. You need to get with this program. I'm telling you, it is going to make you just expand who you want to be and better. So I cannot wait to hear what you have to say. Leave your comments below. Make sure that you follow her on all the social media platforms. I'm going to thank you so much for being here with me because I love you guys so much. This is Neena Perez. This is Straight Talk, no sugar added. Until next
This
time.
broadcast is brought to you by Wincheck Studios. We are an all-in-one educational platform for podcasters that revolutionizes how hosts leverage content to increase engagement with listeners, downloads, and income. We come together to focus on community, collaboration, and collective impact. For more information on how you can interact directly with our hosts, access exclusive live content with offers you can't get anywhere else from our official partners, join our purpose-driven community by visiting www.winject.com. If you're ready to build a career doing what you love, then we're ready to see you there.